I picked that up and ran as fast as I could the fuck out of here. Fuck.
Don't go past the tree line. Buy a Hawaiian shirt.
Who took the helmet there?
When the chickens first died, I thought it was the raccoons that did it. Maybe one had gotten into the coop and made quick work of them. But if it was a raccoon, it would have been a total mess. They would have been torn up, feathers everywhere. They just seemed to kind of keel over, some blood leaking from their poor little beaks. It made no sense. I was deeply saddened by the loss of my chickens. It was really the only thing
I
that
can't
made
hear
my
you
house in the
talking. You gotta
country
turn
a
your music
farmhouse.
down.
When I started finding dead raccoons in the yard not long after, I thought maybe there was something a little
It's
bigger.
fine on this side of the fire.
Yeah, he's clear over here.
But if I move, how do we do this?
I feel for you, buddy. I just want to hear the story.
Them poor chickens.
My poor raccoons.
Here, we'll start it fresh, and then we'll come back to that story.
Thank you. I appreciate it, dude.
I have, something a little different this time. I hope you like it.
There we go. I can hear that. Here we go.
Grave Consequences by Bloody Myra.
Wake up, Cole. How we doing, pal?
The distorted voice crackles through the walkie-talkie that seems to be duct taped to my hand. Where am I? My head aches as I try to piece together whatever it is that happened to me before I fell into this darkness. I try to sit up, but quickly realize that's impossible. Not only because of the fog that seems to be inhabiting my brain, but also because of the dimensions of whatever I'm lying in. There's hardly enough room to roll over, let alone lift my head. The panic starts deep in my chest. Hello? Can you hear me? I do the best I can to raise the device to my face, trying to pry my tongue from the roof of my mouth. Where am I? What's happening? My voice sounds far away, like it's coming to me through a dream.
You're buried, you know, 6 feet deep.
I push against the wood, suddenly overcome with claustrophobia.
Alright, listen. You only have so much oxygen left in there, so don't waste your energy trying to escape. There's only one way out. And all you have to do is answer some questions. Sound good?
Let me out, you fucking psycho!
Remember what I said about that oxygen? Save your breath. Literally.
The voice cackles like a madman before tapering off into a wheeze.
Alright, question number 1. What is your greatest fear?
I can't think of anything worse than what's currently transpiring. Being tortured by some sick freak. I respond, punching at the wood.
Interesting. Very interesting answer. But are you certain that's your worst fear? There's nothing that weighs on your mind every waking moment? Something that you've never told a soul?
I can feel my lungs struggling to keep air in them. They're starting to burn. I know my time is running out. Okay.
Yes.
I'm afraid that someone will find out what happened to her.
How long did you keep her alive before you killed her?
I swallow bile, knowing the only other option is to let it erupt over my face. I can't remember. I admit trying to push the images of her broken body from my mind.
Now that's a shame. Fortunately, I have the answer right here. Looks like it was a whole week. A whole week of torment before she finally, mercifully passed away.
Please, just let me out. I'll do anything. I'll confess.
You already have, my friend. Many, many times. What we're doing here, this is for fun. You understand? Just a way to get her family some closure. Question 3. A two-parter. Do you know how many times we have already dug you up and revived you? Do you have any idea how long we can keep you alive?
No. Let me out. Please.
Gosh, I'm sorry. You would have accepted anything over a week. Better luck next time.
Is there not any story that I think you might like? The garbage truck. By a Hawaiian shirt. It had been idling there for hours. Angeline observed it from the safety of her window, wondering why it had been chugging away for so long. She hadn't seen it when it initially pulled up, and there had been no sign of someone coming back to claim it, or shutting the damn thing off. It wasn't even garbage day. Thick black smoke billowing from the tailpipe. Yellow hazards blinking at an empty street. No one behind the wheel. No one hanging off the side. A whisper in the wind. She looked up and down the street. Bare lanes and empty windows lining the subdivision as far as the eye could see. It wasn't so much the truck itself that bothered her. It was the fact that no one seemed to be home. No school buses full of children. No parents returning from work. Not even a mailman. Angeline turned it over in her head, fighting the nagging urge that felt less taboo the longer she thought about it. After taking turns looking between the rumbling truck and the wall clock that ticked away, she found herself doing the only thing that made sense. She took out the garbage. The bag in the kitchen was hardly full, but she tied off the bag anyways. She slipped on Crocs and opened the front door, letting in the sound of the worn-out exhaust. The street looked more deserted now that she was outside, and the impulse to close the door and retreat begged at the back of her mind. Despite her mental logic, she closed the door and made her way to the street, the rhythmic slapping of her Crocs echoing her determination over the grass. The thing looked even worse up close, peeling paint and a cancerous rust, riddling holes throughout the structure. It's only a garbage truck. There's no one in it. It doesn't even smell. There's nothing to be afraid of. These thoughts drove Angeline on as she marched towards the truck, eager to prove to herself that she could handle this menial task. Hefting the bag to lob it in, Angeline approached the loader and stopped. Dozens of swollen black bags filled the ass end of the truck. each bag stuffed to the point of bursting. She looked at the mound, but not underneath it. Puzzle pieces and the plastic forcing themselves together in her mind. The vibrant pattern of a crocheted sweater. A cold, outstretched hand. An exposed half face. The details were so loud she didn't hear the boots thumping behind her. Heavy hands grabbed her shoulders and shoved her, pressing her into the mound of swollen plastic. Before she could resist, more bags toppled over her. Heavy grunts followed by the burying weight. And behind her, the loader compacted, forcing her into the mound of slimy bags. She kicked and screamed, but the bag silenced her, beckoning with clammy feet and hands behind the film as it consumed her. Screaming against the cold dark, Evangeline felt the truck pulling away. Alright, let's check on those poor chickens.
Ooh, yes, please.
Don't go past the tree line. Buy a Hawaiian shirt. When the chickens first died, I thought it was the raccoons that did it. Maybe one had gotten into the coop and made quick work of them. But if it was a raccoon, it would have been a total mess. They would have been torn up, feathers everywhere. They just seemed to kind of keel over, some blood leaking from their poor little beaks. It made no sense. I was deeply saddened by the loss of my chickens. It was really the only thing that made my house in the country a farmhouse. When I started finding dead raccoons in the yard not long after, I thought maybe there was something a little bigger on the property. The raccoons would be covered in little bites from head to toe. It was strange, like nothing I had ever seen before. I have 10 acres, but half of it is a thick tree line that goes out to the edge of the property. I don't really mess with it. Nothing but trees and bushes, so thick that you can't see but a couple of yards in. I contacted Animal Services and they told me there was a coyote problem this season, and to shoot them on sight if I saw them in my yard. I'm not much of a hunter, but I keep a 12 gauge around just in case things get crazy. Then on, I kept it loaded by the door. It was when the coyotes started showing up. That's when I started to get worried. I found them in the same fashion as the raccoons, but worse. Their legs would be twisted, chunks missing, jaws broken. It didn't make any sense. I found myself looking to the tree line, to the dark woods behind my house. Sometimes I felt like something was watching me from within those trees. I called Animal Services again. They told me bigger game wasn't common around here. Maybe there was a squabble within the pack. After days of watching the tree line, I started to think maybe it was over, like whatever was there had moved on. Just as I started to put the nasty things that had happened behind me, I saw it. Deep in the trees, watching me. Don't know what it is. It has the head of a deer, but its eyes bled. From the neck down, its flesh turns into strands of something else. Something that doesn't make sense. Its body writhes in its confinement. I can't quite make it out from afar, but I swear it looks like a spider. It watches me from the tree line, waiting. It's hungry. I decided in the morning I will go into the woods. I'm taking my shotgun and plenty of gasoline. I'm gonna find whatever den it lies in, and I'm gonna set it on fire. The whole woods if I have to. For my chickens, if anything. If you don't find me, sell my property. And don't go past the tree line. Heartless by Bloody Myra. There's an old legend in my village. It goes back a long ways to the time of witch hunts and that sort of thing. The story is about a woman named Anne Dyer and her gruesome fate. One that differs slightly depending on the one who's telling the tale. For the most part, it usually begins the same. John Dyer married her when she was young and didn't treat her so well. She was often said to have bruises on her whenever they were spotted around town. Well, one day Anne decided that she'd had enough of John and his fist. So, she did the only thing she could to defend herself and poisoned him. A week or so later, the neighbors discovered John, but Anne was nowhere to be found. As this was the time before science, wild stories about how she had killed him using black magic began to circulate, and a reward was placed on her head. Well, after a few months, she was spotted in a village north of her old one, going under a new name and living the quiet life. Once the news of who she was hit the village, they went to where she was staying with torches and blades. They pulled the poor woman out of her home, screaming and begging for mercy. But she would receive none. She did not get a trial. No matter how she called a reason for her pleas, they fell upon deaf ears. Poor Anne Dyer was tied to the trunk of a tree, her wrist and ankles bound so tight that witnesses said they bled. And there the villagers took turns throwing stones at her. During this horrible bludgeoning, it was said that she asked them the same question over and over. How can you be so heartless? It didn't take long before Anne was dead, and her body was taken down from the tree to be burned. A tragic and awful fate for a woman who simply wished to be free. And then it happened. Inexplicably, one by one, our tormentors were found dead, their hearts cut out of their bodies, their faces twisted in unimaginable pain and terror. It wasn't long before every single member of the mob who had taken her on that black day had perished. But why am I telling you all of this? Well, there's one part I have to add to the legend. I'll admit, till yesterday I never really believed any of it. But in my desperation, I was willing to try anything. The tree was easy to find. It was the only one that had twisted and died in that dark patch of the forest. So I went to it, and I asked for Anne's help. I said his name, and I left. I didn't expect much, to be honest, but the next morning he was dead. His heart torn from his chest. And finally, I'm safe from his fists. Unity by Psyoptic Nerve. Blood drips and spreads across the ground, accumulating like fresh fallen snow. And for a moment I remember what it was like to be a child. Back when the world could still fill me with wonder and joy as I stood under the gray heavens, trying to catch the fluffy white flakes drifting down on my tongue. I have that same feeling now, that nostalgia for a simpler time. A time I had only caught phantom impressions of in my current years, as I watched them writhe in agony so sweet and pure. 3 cloaked figures stand ahead of me in line, countless behind, all filled with hope of promise of being set free from this world of illusion and deceit the blood-soaked blade.
There are no names here. There are no lies.
The speaker says, turning toward a line of us being initiated.
Should you feel the need for either, do not accept this rite of passage.
I try to suppress the fear when it is my turn to face the rusted metal. I try not to look at the elder's face as he holds it to my forehead. Instead, I try to think back to the reason why I'm here.
You know it in your
Thank you, Rogue.
The stranger had said, coming out of the shadows.
There is more to this life.
Who are you? I had whimpered, recoiling as they loomed over me in that filthy alley.
I seek the lost, the weak, the forgotten, the ones who suffer an existence of tragedy to escape the horrors of the world they see. You are on a path of self-destruction, poisoning your body to numb yourself to the wickedness that surrounds you.
Hot tears, unexpected and ashamed, rolled from my eyes.
Come,
They said, offering a gloved hand.
and seek the truth of our existence.
The incision carves away flesh and bone, leaving a gaping hole in the middle of my forehead. And a flow of blackish blood invades my eyes. I try not to acknowledge the pain, but my own wailing fills my ears. Through it all, I can still hear the words of the speaker echoing off the cavern walls.
The founder understood. The founder saw beyond. He believed that only through a single unified vision, we could create our utopia.
Yes, I must not forget why I'm here. I must not let my mind be clouded by fear. The speaker holds the sacred eye above his head, and the mass of cloaked figures turn their eyeless, mutated faces towards us.
And now it is your turn, newcomers, to share our vision.
The blade is the last thing my own visionless eyes see as they are removed from my skull. I wait in the blackness with wonder, the joy of a child, eager for the visions of the founder to be placed in my forehead. Truly see, for the first time, the evening news by Human Gravy. A woman's blood-curdling scream ripped across the store, bringing everyone's attention to the newscast playing on the wall of televisions. Thousands of people rioted in Times Square, demolishing everything in sight.
An employee turned on the sound system and the audio filled the store. Authorities demanded the public stay indoors, find a weapon, and do not hesitate to use it. Protect yourselves at all costs. The camera zoomed in on a bloodied, half-naked woman stampeding towards a couple pushing a stroller through the insanity. There was no trace of humanity in her crazed, wide eyes. The couple didn't see her coming as she crashed into them, sending the couple and the stroller tumbling to the ground in a heap of twisted limbs. The patients and the audience watched in horror as the crazed woman snatched a wailing infant by the leg and tossed it through the air into the street. The camera panned away just in time to avoid exposing the audience to the infant's fate. Instead, they mistakenly caught the baby's father curb-stomping the crazed woman's head into a paste.
Holy shit, see what those monsters did to that woman?
Called out one of the men at the store.
What are you talking about? That woman was clearly out of her fucking mind. She killed that baby.
A cacophony of argument erupted over the savagery they had witnessed. No one agreed on what happened. Some argued the couple attacked the woman with the stroller. Others complained about not being able to see anything besides fire and smoke. The broadcast switched to other major cities where similar conflicting words were coming from.
Oh my god, my uncle lives in Miami. So what? Nothing's happened.
The threesome quarreled and the rest followed. Arguments became shouting matches as their voices rose, bellowing over each other as if the loudest person would win the fight. Allies turned to enemies in an instant. The tension came to a boil and spilled over into violence. One man punched another amidst the tussle and other fights broke out. It cascaded into an all-out bloodbath. Standing away from the crowd, a lone customer watched the situation unfold until it turned violent. He trembled, unable to grasp what just happened. He stealthily exited the building, all while wondering what had made them lose their collective minds. There hadn't been any news broadcast. Those televisions weren't even on.
What happens next?